Go live. We are live. Just try this again. We are Talking Devils. Hello. I mean, sorry about that delayed response. It was saying we were live and then saying we weren't live. I am Wayne Barton, joined by Dave Murphy and Manchester United legend Paul Parker. Dave, how are you doing? It's been a while since you've been on the pod. Very nice of you to grace us with your presence today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, no problem. It's been a good weekend. Pretty busy these days. So, yep. Well, I'm back. Like Manchester United, I'm back.
Yep.
For a week.
For a week, like Manchester United. Just about right. Paul, how are you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I just wonder if Dave is just picking his moments. We're only going to see him when United win games.
Yeah, I'm the Harry Maguire of podcasts. I pop up every now and then.
Yeah. Fair weather Irish fan just coming over for the win. Although there was this talk of the Irish YouTuber who Dave knows from his childhood. Apparently that was his first game at Anfield yesterday, and imagine picking that one as your first game. You know what I'm talking about, right, Dave?
Yeah, Craig Holden. Yeah, I know the guy.
I'm
delighted for him. I'm so happy he chose that game.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's true, by the way. That was just going from an internet rumor. Like everyone should do. Go through your internet rumors. I'm not streaming this live on Twitter by the looks of it, so it's all coming through YouTube today. If you're watching live on YouTube, if you can get your comments and questions in, I'll post the link later onto the Twitter feed and everything like that. But sorry, because this is a game that we really wanted to try and get people watching, but people won't be able to watch on Twitter for some reason. Here's what it is. Okay, let's talk about the game then. Liverpool 1, Manchester United 2. Oh, in fact, no, before we do that, Paul, you did the rounds on the media last week for the book tour. Basically, you done CNN and Sky Sports as well. How was that? Did you have fun? Because you looked, we'll say this, you look very, very smart on Sky Sports. You were dressed very well.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd try and help Sky out and try and go in there, look like someone who dresses up rather than big white trainers and scruffy trousers and a kind of striped jumper. And I thought I'd give it a go, see if the cameras could handle it, to be perfectly honest. I think it was a case of, when it came up, my missus says to me, you can't just go up there and just wear what everyone else wears. It isn't going to be you. You've just got to be just to be you. And because I was out started my day quite early and having to go into London and then go out again, going out far west to get to Sky, I thought to myself, I can't be looking like a scruff bag, to be perfectly honest. So and then you turn up and you see Quinton, and Quinton is maybe one of the coolest people you meet. The man is so laid back and so relaxed, and it was just great to see Quinton on Sky as well. So it made it quite an enjoyable day seeing him. So I haven't seen him for a good few years.
Yeah. I do feel like you've touched on my dress sense there, Paul, but we'll leave that. Okay. Liverpool 1, Manchester United 2, and Mbeumo scoring after 62 seconds. Harry Maguire scoring in the last 5 minutes. Incredible scenes to end the game. Great stuff. That a little bit of controversy in there as well. Lots to talk about. United's first win at Anfield for a decade. And really, deserved again. They deserved the draw that they got last season. And, this has been a podcast where we've been quite critical on Amorim. As I say critical, I think we've pulled no punches with him. This time round, he'll be getting a lot of praise, won't he? For sure, because of everything that he did was vindicated. You can't argue with it. But the first thing I want to talk about is Paul, when we were talking about it, whenever you were doing the press last week, and certainly when we talked about it, we talked about United's main sort of cause of joy, really, that we felt it was going to come from putting Mbeumo on Van Dijk rather than putting Sesko on him, because he's traditional centre forward, and Van Dijk would have dealt with him. In the end, Sesko didn't start at all; he was on the bench, and that's exactly what Amorim did. He put Mbeumo back in that sort of channel behind Van Dijk, which he absolutely hates, and the first goal came from that. So, and really, that dictated the entire flow of the game after that, because United were comfortable. Yes, Liverpool had a lot of chances, but United were never really stretched. They were never really in any significant danger. It enabled them to really enjoy the game, and in the end, obviously they don't score the goal through the same kind of thing. But the point is that decision did turn the game. So it goes to show what we were saying about Van Dijk. I mean, everyone's giving him this lofty reputation, but he's there to be got at, and United exploited that area behind him, no matter how much Liverpool complained about the legality of the goal afterwards. So I guess we'll talk about the goals first of all. It was a good goal, right? I mean, taken away from the controversy, the way that it was taken, the way that he was found, all of it was very nicely done, and the kind of goal you want United to score in that kind of situation. So, and even the winning goal as well, we were just talking about it before we came on air. I was giving Bruno praise for the pass. Paul, not quite so sure about the quality of the pass, but I thought it was a good pass, good cross, good header from Maguire, and 2 good goals to win it for United. So before we talk about the performance, we'll talk about the goals. Paul, do you have any concern over what Liverpool are going on about with the the nonsense with the head thing, with McAllister going down after Van Dijk clattered into it?
Not really. Not given how the game has gone, and it's the game is going towards being negative in certain ways with tackling. I look at the head injury one, and I was at Fulham at the weekend, Fulham Arsenal, and to be fair, I just watched players who jump for the ball. And as they jump, they're kind of looking around. And the moment they see that something's going against them, of the direction of where the ball's going, they get to the floor and they hold their heads. They kill games. And so many referees now are just so, I don't know what word I want to use. There's a word I want to use, but I won't use it. But they stop it because they do that. So, like that, it's a head, and the player falls on the ground and hits his head on green stuff, which is quite soft, and then it's a head injury because they're holding their head, and game gets killed. The enjoyment of the game dies a death. He got caught, McAllister. I'm going to call him McAllister because they put a gap in between Mac and Alistair, and I'm not going to do it. I'm joining them together. It's McAllister. There is a bit of Scottish blood there, and they've changed the name a bit just to take it away from that. So McAllister jumps, but he gets hit by an arm, an elbow of, according to all this, what I keep reading about, the greatest ever Liverpool centre half. Poor old Alan Hansen and Mark Lawrenson and Glenn Hussein, but still, it's him. It's the modern day, and which he had no right to be involved in that because McAllister's there, but he gets involved because he thinks he's this super player who can do everything, and he whacks his own player, and we've got allegedly referee in that game, the best referee in the league. He makes a conscious decision by saying, I've seen the whack on his head. It wasn't 2 heads going together. He's fallen on the floor. I'm going to keep it going. Now, I think 8, 9 out of 10 referees would have panicked and stopped the game. But because he's the chief of police, he keeps going. And I think he's got every right to do it because there's people paying money for entertainment. They don't want the game stopping. But maybe more, the percentage, 99.9% of the time, players are cheating when they do it for their own. They're doing it for their own favours, and to be honest, not a good a game because they're killing the game, and it flowed. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't see that many players really going at the referee about the situation. McAllister he seemed to. I didn't even see Van Dijk really going into a strop about it either. So and Slot might want to moan about it, but as we know, football's full of hypocrites. Is that if the boot was on the other foot, how would he have been? Would they have stopped? What about if the referee had stopped the game? What would he have done? All those questions can be asked after the event. So I look at it and I see nothing wrong with it, and the referees just let it go, and straight away, fortunate enough, United go and score, and within that same minute, people are looking at him on the pitch, and he did have a cut on his head, and he did end up looking like a water polo player as well. So I don't really see a problem with it, Wayne, to be perfectly honest. And I think, unless you're a Liverpool fan, I think a lot of football fans are glad to see that happen because they are seriously fed up with this head injury one. It's become too soft, too weak.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of them are going this morning apoplectic at the rule book that they're referring to, which I presume none of them have read, because there's nothing in the rules that says that they should stop the game. There's a little bit of ambiguous guidance there. It says it's the referee's discretion if that kind of incident happens, but there's nothing in the rules that says that play must be stopped. It's absolutely nonsense. And if you did do that, you do open up a can of worms of saying that it's all right for opposition players to tangle themselves up. Do you know what I mean? They can do that. If they say a player running through on goal, why don't you two players from the same team take out a player? We'll take out a player and say, oh, no, he's injured, you've got to stop play, because that's where it will end up. It will end up like that. So there's nothing in the rules that says that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would have probably been upset if that goal had been scored against us, but, it's the referee's discretion. And the amusement of it all is Liverpool claiming that they're hard done by. I mean, if United hadn't got a result from that game, you would then say the 59 minutes of injury time that Liverpool got from nowhere, by the way. I don't know where that came from. And the fact that Ahmad was booked for a properly clean tackle, you know what I mean? That Casemiro was booked and we had to bring him off immediately. I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be booked, but what I'm saying is there was at least two decisions that mentally went in Liverpool's favour. And if United hadn't won the game, you could be complaining about them. Since we're talking about the first goal, Dave, what did you make of it?
I don't think the ref should have stopped the game at all. I mean, it happened so quick and in a vacuum. 3 players went down, 2 got up, played on, and the big telling part about it is, as Paul mentioned, was there wasn't one Liverpool player that put his hand up to say, to acknowledge the fact that the player got hit in the head. This is just this is typical of Liverpool and how they react to when a decision that's fair doesn't go their way. I mean, in the end, he was down for a bit, and he ended up having to put a swim cap on to play the rest of the game. But there was no way the ref was stopping that. You see those types of tackles and challenges every week in the league. What are we going to do? Just constantly stop now? Because if this becomes a thing, which Liverpool have a tendency to make stuff like this a thing, we're going to see the game getting stopped every week now. But at the end of the day, it didn't deserve to be stopped. And the telling part about it all was that it happened so fast. My point is, it happened so fast and so quick that none of the other players on the pitch even seen what happened. So how is the referee supposed to see what happened if the other 20 odd players didn't see anything? It's just ridiculous that we're talking about that after the game. And I'll be honest, and I know you said it earlier, Wayne, that if it was given against United, I wouldn't have had a problem. I really wouldn't have. It happened so quick. How is the ref supposed to see it? And again, no one else on the pitch seen it. So how is the ref supposed to see it as well and be singled out? This is just another example of how Liverpool always feel hard done by, but didn't feel hard done by the 8 minutes at the end, which that should be investigated more so than the actual first goal. But to me, it was a playoff. So
good goal though.
Fantastic goal. I mean, the finish was sublime. It really was. And, he completely just got the blind side of Van Dijk. Van Dijk didn't even know where he was at that point. Goalkeeper maybe could have done a little bit better, but I think the power in the shot was what took it in as well, though. But Mbeumo, I've been saying this all along. We stole him from Brentford for the price we got. He's been absolutely phenomenal this season. Although that was only his second goal, it doesn't really show you how good he has been in those opening games. But it was an absolutely fantastic finish, especially considering that he was the one on the ground as well before the ball started moving forward, and he was able to get up, run past Van Dijk, and slot it home. Fantastic goal.
Yeah, second goal, Paul. Let's have our argument on air. I thought it was a great pass from Bruno. Maybe I'll reframe the way that I'll put it to you, and you'll be able to softball this one a little bit. It was the kind of pass that only Bruno on the team would try.
You can do that, Wayne. You can definitely do that. I just look at it, and it was a percentage ball back into the box. That's what it was. And to be honest, if Harry Maguire doesn't head it, a Liverpool player heads it away, does everyone say, "Oh, it was a great ball"? But they don't even mention it. But because at the end of the day, any ball that gets into a box and someone heads it is a great ball. And whether or not it's to run the person, make the desire to get across the front of someone and head it, or they come in late and they arrive and go bang, it seemed a great ball. But you can knock as many crosses in. If no one gets at the end of one of them, tell you what, 9 times out of 10 people just don't even talk about the delivery. They'll talk about no one in the box or no one's made a run. And it was a looping one in. Can he put his hand on his heart and say, "I was looking for Harry Maguire"? I don't think he can, personally speaking. Yeah. I mean, like I said to you earlier, you know, off air, I said if Dorgu puts that in, no one talks about it being a great ball.
I don't know if Dorgu in particular did it. I might think, bloody hell, where did that come from? But
because we have to remember. I think that was the first time that anyone really saw him in the game because he was poor. He had a poor game. He was running around. Chasing chickens. And we all know people never catch chickens.
Yeah, he was about to come off, and this is the point I was going to make, and we'll come to it a little bit more in a minute. Is that I do like Dave and to Paul for their woes. Unfortunately, they get running commentaries from me sometimes on games while they're going on. So I'm making my notes for the pod for today, basically. And one of the points I was making, and that I know sometimes I come across as like the rational, level-headed, sensible one, but I do get frustrated sometimes. Dave knows because he's been there. But the point is, I was making to Paul just before Bruno came off. I said, like, the manager, I don't know if he's brave enough to take Bruno off at this point, but he has to because it looked like it was going to cost us the draw.
Yeah,
he was losing a lot of silly balls, and to be fair, he had made that decision. Cobby was on; he was ready to come on. He was waiting on by the side of the pitch, and he didn't change his decision after the pass either. So fair play to Amorim for that. I just think it was the kind of I still think it's the kind of pass that maybe only he would have tried. You know, that's kind of speculation to get the purchase on it. And you know, yeah, you're quite right. It was a percentage ball. But also doing it as quickly as it didn't allow them to settle. I know Liverpool, Sky covered this in their analysis afterwards, but it didn't allow them to settle. Nobody could get back into position.
Oh, no, that's right, Wayne, because so many times we're seeing in football today where you see the player gets in position, you think, cross it early, an early cross. But they don't. They want to delay. They want to go back. They want to check. No, knock it in early. An early cross is better than a late, great cross. You knock it in early. He just defenders are facing the wrong way. They're not steady. Goalkeepers can't get set and organised. An early ball is always the better one. And I always, when I refer to that, I always bring up one name in particular. Is Mark Hughes. About him grabbing Andrei Konchesky around the throat and virtually telling him, stop all that, you know, checking in, checking out. Just cross the ball early. And Kasparki would just run. Would always make that run when he believes that cross should come in. And that's how it is.
Yeah, well, and he definitely worked yesterday for United. Dave, obviously, a good goal as well. Maguire with a good header at the end of it. And there was a lot of sort of, because of the identity of the goal scorer, the fact that he missed a chance late last season because of the fact he's had a lot of criticism. There were question marks over him starting. We'll talk about the selection in a little bit. But, you know, obviously there's a great sort of furore around Maguire. And I think Maguire himself did quite well to sort of quell it afterwards. He sort of like talked up the moment because he's going to, that's been a decade where he's been in that side for like 7 years and they've never won at Anfield. So to score after the amount of criticism that he's had, and he's had so much criticism, I think fair on this podcast. I think definitely unfair elsewhere. I think people have crossed the line with him. I still don't think he should be in a United team. It gives me wobbles that he's starting games like that. But he played very well yesterday, probably deserved the man of the match, and came up when it mattered. So you can't, I mean, you've got to love the moment and say, like, it was a great moment for him. And whether or not you go down the line of saying it's vindication for like everything he's been through, I'm not quite sure about that, because the players are the consequence of the consequence of the player, the struggles that we've had is on the players' shoulders, so they can't hide from that, as well as the managers who paid the consequences for it as well. But it was a nice moment nonetheless. First of all, nice to score a late winning goal at Anfield, but nice for Maguire as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was completely miffed by the lineup, to be honest. When I seen it with Maguire in there with Dalot and Shaw, I thought we were going to have a bit of a bad day, if I'm being brutally honest. But if there's one thing that Harry Maguire has shown over the past couple of years is his resilience. He's definitely. I think weaker-minded players would have crumbled under the criticism he got, and I totally agree. I think in a lot of cases, not so much Manchester United supporters, but in a lot of cases, people have crossed the line with Maguire. But the fact that he still turns up every week and he, he's ready to do a job, and to seal it yesterday with a win in Anfield with the header was up. I mean, I was delighted for him. I still think in our strongest 11, he doesn't get into the team. I'll be brutally honest there. I don't think he does, but he played well yesterday. But it doesn't take away from the fact that I don't think he should be starting games if I'm being honest. Bringing him on is one thing, but actually starting him at Anfield was a big concern yesterday.
Didn't have to bring him on, did they? That's from the start. We've often joked about that. If Maguire starts, how does he get brought on as a sub as well? But he didn't have to do it yesterday. So, or maybe he did, and we just didn't realise. But he was there at the end when it mattered. What I didn't like is like afterwards. Keane laughed when he said it, but Keane was doing the punditry for Sky Sports, and he said like he got his big forehead on it, and then he sort of like backed off. He was like, I feel a bit bad for Harry that like, and I know he plays into it himself, like big forehead and everything like that. Is it really that big? I don't know, but thankfully it was there. All right, we'll talk about the performance, then we'll talk about the lineup because we've not really talked about the performance yet. I felt we deserved to win. The stats look favourable on Liverpool. They had a lot of chances. They hit the post a few times as well. Gakpo was a bit speculative. One of them was a cross, so we've got to sort of put that into perspective. But a couple of decent efforts. Thought Lomans, we'll talk about individual performances as well, but Lomans did really well on a Isaac chance. Did very well overall. I don't know if this is a goalkeeping thing or a team instruction, but there's no doubting that Lomans is like, I'm not messing around at the back. I'm just going to hit it long, and this is how we're going to play. I don't know if this is instruction, but it seems to be that case under Lomans, so they're not going to be doing stuff like that. Definitely not farting around with it. So some good performances in there. And for Liverpool's perspective, Kenny Dalglish, is it Kelly Cates' surname now? Afterwards, when she was talking about it on Sky, she's like, well, Liverpool's XG is considerably higher than United's. And it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, really doesn't matter in that perspective. Also, Liverpool had 40-odd crosses. Can you remember when United played Fulham in the Moyes era, when Rennie Mullenstein was Fulham manager for like, I don't know how long Rennie was manager there, like 5 or 6 weeks. But we played Fulham at Old Trafford, and we had something like 80 crosses. And Mullenstein said, "Oh, we know that's how Moyes would play, so we just set our team up." Because they had it was the big lad who used to play for Norway. Is it Norwegian defender? Well, the big lad who used to play in Fulham's defence. He was basically like a totem pole. Everything sort of gravitated towards him, and he must have headed all 85 away. That came to mind when I saw Liverpool's 45 crosses yesterday, and I'm like, did they have 45? It didn't feel like 45, but. When Slot's coming out complaining about the way that we played with long ball and everything, I actually felt, incisive-wise, I felt United deserved to win. I thought we could have had a couple of chances to score more ourselves. So, believe it or not, when Cunha did really well for the corner, to get the corner that won us the game, I was cursing him because I thought he had a shot in him earlier than that. I thought if he had just taken, I thought that there was a shot in, but he did the right thing in the end. So yeah, I thought that we performed really well and we deserved to win. Paul, we'll talk about Amorim, the selection in a moment, but in the general team performance, are you satisfied to go? That Manchester United team went to Anfield, looked like they wanted to win and won the game and deserved to win?
I would say yes. We can talk about Liverpool and that kind of sponsored XG thing on Sky. They have to mention about that, which is a load of rubbish. It's because football is so subjective that it's never going to work. You can say whatever you want about it, but football can just be won by a team that has one shot on target in the game. It's as simple as that. And if you go and suddenly start shooting from the edge of the box, it kills XG, because XG is set out 7-8 yards from goal. That's what it's all about, really. That's what it's looking at, and that's why football was going to the dumps, because everyone wanted to score the perfect goal from 8 yards. But I look at it, you go to Anfield and you expect Liverpool to have a lot of the ball. You expect to be sitting back in the last third, defending everything, fighting for your life. And it wasn't that way. United stopped Liverpool doing what Liverpool normally do. And we can talk about them being off form, but they still didn't cause any great problems. Their best attacking player was Gakpo. And they had Isak, who was struggling without Jacob Murphy on the right wing crossing for him, because the person out right on the right wing went missing. I think he was out there still looking for his wages that he's picking up, because he's disappeared. But look, they got what they deserve, because they put a lot of hard work in. The early goal was the one. That's the one. That doesn't happen at Anfield. That's very, very rare for that to happen in the top division. It may have happened a few times in European games, but not in Premier League football or even Football League football did teams go there and score so early. And that affected them. And I always thought myself, right, okay, they've awoken a bear here. You're gonna see a typical, now this is when Liverpool are gonna start. But United just kept their composure and kept still carrying on doing what they're doing. And you can talk about long balls, but I always thought about in football, being able to adaptability, being able to change things, change your game, go short, go long, because then people don't know what you're going to do next, rather than tippy-tappy from the back and knowing that team knows what you're doing and they're going to close you down. And then Liverpool, and the reason why Slot's got the raving up, because he wanted United and every team who comes to Anfield to play from the back. And then that will then allow him then be able to show the stats to Liverpool and look how well they closed down and nicked the ball off of them in their attacking third. But if you don't play in that attacking third, and you try and be cultured and maybe get the ball further forward a little bit earlier, it stops Liverpool winning the ball early and going at it, because that's when Liverpool look good and everyone raves about them. But if you don't give them that opportunity, it takes a lot from their game, and United done that. I'm hoping now that people have seen that performance and go, well, they've done it the previous 3 games, say a lot, Liverpool to lose 3 away from home, but then lose at home. It suggests that now teams are not afraid of the so-called big boys. I saw Fulham, a team that are struggling to score goals, got injury problems, and they played against Arsenal. And I'm watching Arsenal, and people are talking about them winning the league. Well, I mean, already they're the most dullest side. The so-called champions. They are the dullest, premature champions I've seen. They've got all this talent as such, and they've paid for it. But the manager's quite good. He doesn't allow them to play football. That's as simple as that. That's the way the game. It's the most expensive set-piece team ever, maybe even the world. But Liverpool, I think United deserved it. I don't think there's any other way he can say it. And when he talks like that, even the mature Liverpool fan, the one who has seen the great days and that, the older fellas, they will turn around and they will question their manager by saying something like that. If he has to resort to something like talking about long balls, that's embarrassing, because as we know now, these teams have changed their styles and they've shifted on a bit from trying to play the football that suits a Liverpool and Manchester City, and the media can then talk about, I want to use the word and I hate using it, their pressing skills and how they do it. Why play to what the media want? Why don't you play to what suits your football team? And doing that with the players they've got in that back 3 and the wing backs, playing out from the back is not a strength of Manchester United. The strength is in the final third now. And that was proven yesterday. As you mentioned, Wayne, and I've seen it, and you are right, Cunha was excellent. And you are right, the fans will really take him. That's nothing against Mbrono, whatever you want to call him. But it's just the fact of just what him as a player, his persona says that the fans will take to him. Yeah. Just in that way, done 3-4 times. He doesn't give in.
Yeah.
He gets it and he doesn't give in. He has got something about him, and there's two of them. And once they can get Šeško going as well, then that is the making of a great front three. And it's been years since can even think about anything getting that close to getting an attacking end of the field, which is dominant.
Yeah.
When I talk about United, I talk about a great front six. Now at the moment we're trying to work on a really good front three at this moment, and there is a deep, really good front three, and we know the issue now is in the middle and midfield. That's the bit that's got to be worked on. But the biggest problem now, got to go and replicate in the next game.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's the point. A couple of comments in me. Dan watching saying, "Does Dave have any kind words for the manager?" Well, it's funny, like Dave was saying, skip the defeats and the poor ones recently. But although we won last time out, back-to-back wins, the performance. I mean, I guess you're going to want to talk about the performance as well, Dave. So we can come on to that. But I mean, also, like Paul was saying about Liverpool's poor performance, there's a lot of sort of incrimination there, like the way that they're talking about it. Or they're searching for a new style of play with all these new signings that they've got in the side. Not necessarily the most physical of players, any of them that they brought in. I think Kirkes, I thought, was actually the most durable. Prior to him signing, I thought for Bournemouth he'd been more durable, but he seems to be the least. At the moment, Salah, 33 years old, Van Dijk, similar age, dropped off a cliff, both their forms, making a mockery of people who were saying in the summer that they're the best forward of all time and defender of all time in the Premier League. Just shows you how quickly 8 weeks can change the narrative on that. Now they're probably thinking they wish that they cashed in on both of those players before giving them both massive contracts, because for a club that does a lot of things sensibly, that looks like a quite catastrophic decision in terms of so they're going to have to be marginalised at some point. They're going to have to be. Whilst on those big contracts, we had the same problem with Wayne Rooney. I've been giving him a couple of contracts as well. But yeah, Dave, on the performance, United deserve to win. Amorim deserves credit as well. I mean, Paul's saying that it's not the kind of win that you go like United have turned a corner. Everyone was saying that after the games. I think Bruno said it. I think Maguire said it, that it's all right. We'll enjoy it tonight, but tomorrow we've got to focus on what comes next, because we know that if we don't pick it up a win against Brighton, then everyone will be on our back again, and that's the truth. And it is partly fair, partly unfair. That it's that instantaneous, the way that people react in football these days. But look, we want very, very basic, simple, fundamental things. We wanted back-to-back wins. We wanted a good performance. Amorim got a good performance. It was earned through his approach to the game and his selection. Everything he got right. His changes he got right. The deployment of Cunha through the middle he got right, because it definitely ran the game, and then Mbeumo on the right-hand side of that attack. Even bold enough to play Ahmad there, because Ahmad plays the kind of ball that Dalot can't play. So everything worked well for that start. Even the midfield, even though it had its moments, everything got us through the game. Even the defence, Maguire was in there to head balls away. He anticipated that. They put in 40-odd crosses. I didn't think they put that many in, but they did. Maguire was there as a totem pole. He said that he wasn't playing Euro because Maguire's more of a straightforward presence in that regard. He did. He got away with it. And someone said in the comments here, just a fate, he's talking about one of the things I was saying last week is I was worried about how poor Luke Shaw's been against Salah in recent years, but he was really good yesterday. I say really good. Salah was really poor, and enabled Shaw to have a pretty decent game. But I don't want to concentrate on Liverpool's drawbacks. I said that they were bad because I thought United played well, and I think that this is like last season we were saying Amorim's tactics did well in the big games away from home. He had a black mark against him in the City game because it was such a crushing defeat. But now we've won a big game away from home, and you have to say, fair play to the manager. As someone, we've had praise on this pod, Dave, believe it or not, because you were one of the earliest ones to say that you weren't sure about Amorim, how long you've been going on about it. But 2 wins, yes, they've been so convincing as it was in terms of like the general performance and being thoroughly deserved. Or are you a little bit more convinced?
Well, let's start with I want to start with the Arnie Slot comment about the long ball. I've never heard so much horse shit from one man in a long time. Before Guardiola tricked the world into believing that you can play out from the back, the way we played yesterday and the way goalkeeper played yesterday was a typical way a goalkeeper played before Guardiola, like I said, tricked everyone into thinking that playing out from the back is the way to do it. So this long ball comment is absolutely horseshit. I mean, long ball teams were Wimbledon, and I know Paul's a big fan of this one, Jackie Charlton's Ireland in 1990, 88. They were long ball teams. They were just whoever had the ball, and if it was in their own half, there was only one way to pass it, and that was 60 yards into the air. That's a long ball team. Slot just got outsmarted yesterday. He really did, and he couldn't handle it. I mean, when has a Liverpool manager ever come out and been humble after a defeat? He just got outsmarted, and it was such a joy to watch it. A Manchester United goalkeeper going back to the basics of goalkeeping, and that is if you see a long ball, hit it. If you see a short one, hit it. This thing of tapping around at the back, as you said, is not our strength. And you guys had mentioned our strength is up front. And that's what we should be concentrating on. We're not a long ball team. It was a stupid comment, and he should have just admitted he got outsmarted. Onto the team performance, I thought it was really good. The stats are just padded in there. They don't tell the full story. I mean, they should have been 2-0 up. How Bruno missed that chance, I'm just not sure. It was easier to score than it was to miss. It's just one of those things where it's the finer details, the finer moments that define the game. But I think as a head-to-head yesterday, it was a good game. But I think United did shave it. I really do. I do think Liverpool had chances, but we also had chances as well. But I think from an overall perspective, I thought we deserved to win. Getting back to Amorim and the question about the team and does he get kudos? I mean, let's be honest. I think when we all seen the starting lineup, if we're all being honest, we were concerned. I definitely was when I seen the lineup. And sometimes that goes fire, goes against you. But yesterday it went for us, and I still do think Amorim made one or two. I do think he made one or two. He took Ahmad off and put Dalot over on that side, which to me was a terrible decision. It really was, because Ahmad was probably one of the better players on the pitch at that time, and it baffled me. Dalot is the only footballer I've ever seen that literally has no brain. He has no brain. He's just terrible at everything he does. High-fiving, world champion, but absolutely terrible at everything he does. And I think Amorim made a mistake there by doing that. To go to Dan there to see will I give Amorim any praise? Yes, I mean it's only taken him a year to get 2 league wins in a row, and that's absolutely a phenomenal achievement. I really think that's phenomenal. So well done, Ruben. I'm not going to get overhyped about the win. Listen, beating Liverpool at anything is fantastic. Beating them at Anfield's just so much, so sweet, but we've got 6 winnable games coming up, and that's when I'll hold my judgment that maybe this is the turning point. I really hope it is, but I'll hold my judgment on Amorim. I think it was a fantastic achievement yesterday. But if we look back to the Man City game where we got our ass handed to us, and that was only a few weeks back, going to Anfield, Liverpool, let's be honest, they're not in the best of form right now. It was a great win, don't get me wrong, but I'll hold off on saying that we're back until we get, after Christmas is when I'll judge them. Because these next 6 games, like I said, 3 at home, 3 away, very winnable games, because a lot of those teams that are in there are in a bit of a turmoil. So, yeah, we won. I'm happy. The long ball comment was just complete horseshit. And I think, there was 1 or 2 things he could have did better yesterday.
Yeah, I've got to give this comment, which is just sensational. I was all laughing there. Spotless Leopard says, slots are supposed to have coins go into them. This one is spewing money out and getting nothing in return. So it's a faulty slot. Just end the
Sorry,
podcast
yeah.
there.
Sorry, Dave. You saw me laughing. I wasn't laughing with you. Yeah, I couldn't tell me, but that just got me. That just got me there. I had to read it twice to think to myself, "Oh, is this what's going on here?" Brilliant, brilliant.
Well done, mate. Just to fake you, Dave, we are back. Yeah, Dave, you've got to be around Dave at football matches because I'm telling you, he is. We are back if we score a goal. He's not want to hide that. He regains his composure for a Monday morning when he can criticise the manager again. But before that, he's running away with it. It's the best goal I've ever seen. I will say, so far, Dave and I being at games together, we've got 100% record. Yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of our first game sat together, which was the Brentford game where, no, it wasn't. Hang on, 2 year anniversary. That can't be right. No, we won Brentford last year in the last minute as well, didn't we? But it wasn't McTominay last year. 2 years. Oh, ignore me.
It's an anniversary.
It's an anniversary of something that it happened yesterday, and in future years it will be an anniversary of the day that we beat Liverpool 2-1. Jesus, Wayne. Everything's got to be a statistic with me, hasn't it? I've got to just
whether it's right or wrong, it's a statistic. So
enjoy the moment for once, for God's sake. Before we talk about Brighton, I'm just going to do a cheeky little plug because the books came and I didn't have a chance to do it last week. So Paul's book, tackling the game. I'm like looking at it to check the title, like I didn't.
A forgetful moment, Wayne, isn't you?
Yeah, it's not the best. Tackling the Game is available now on Amazon, everywhere you get your books. And my book, Manchester United After Munich, came as well this week. And that's out a little bit later in November, so you can order that as well. Pre-orders are on talkingdevils.com. So if you want to get signed copies from me of that. Let's talk about Brighton then. Brighton.
Before we move on though, Wayne, can we go to Paul's book and the chapter where he talks about me and how I changed his life since I've come onto this podcast? Okay. We'll just sit back and get a cup of tea and let's go.
All right. Okay. I'll open it up.
Sorry, Wayne. No, Wayne. You know that that's in the next book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a full book. That's right.
Yeah.
It's a full book of 2 pages.
What happened was we pitched it to the publishers and they just said it's outrageous, libel, load of crap. I'm not going to swear, even though Dave's already swore twice and put me on the notice step for the podcast publication. I'm going to mark this as profanity.
Just a quickie, Wayne, before we go. We haven't because it's an easy one to miss, but it's an obvious one that really was the elephant in the room as well. We haven't really mentioned it. Dave, I think, has said it just a little bit. What a great performance by the keeper.
Oh, yeah. And how simple it was.
And the thing about it, which he'd done, which I haven't seen for a few seasons, he actually looks like a goalkeeper.
Yeah, like a real goalkeeper.
Yeah, his manner, everything he'd done just looked right. He's kicking. He looked assured. He didn't look like he wanted to try and dribble around the team. He just kept everything simple. And I know we kind of went a little bit because of the slot long ball scenario, but I mean, just to save him, mate, I just saw from Gakpo, the leg that comes out, there's a bit David De Gea, just all those little things. Everything just was so natural. And one thing which I picked up yesterday when I was working yesterday, I was just, I do the United games, majority of them for TalkSport International, and someone in there was talking, and they'd actually been talking with Tom Heaton. They found out talking to Tom Heaton. Tom Heaton has come out and said, "This kid's going to be a superstar."
Okay,
that's what Tom Heaton said, and Tom is to come, and that's what he said. That's what he's come out and said about this keeper. And I heard that was said to me before the game. And what I watched there already, I'm seeing something. Yes, he's going to make mistakes. Yes, their teams are going to score goals against him. But the whole thing is just his stature and just the way he presented himself says to me that at 22, he's in a good place.
We said when Cobby came into the side, the 2 things you look for are composure and temperament. Just his ability to look like he's always been there. And that's the big thing with Lommans. He's like, everyone was worried about that. We were saying the timing of it. You brought him in for Sunderland, great. He's kept a clean sheet, brilliant. But the worry is you brought him in for that when there's potentially a frenetic atmosphere. And how does he cope under that? Yeah, all right, the atmosphere wasn't the greatest at Anfield, but it's still a trip to Anfield. And he was very, very good. A contender for man of the match. I don't think he was outstanding in the way that Maguire and Cunha was. By the way, I'll while we're mentioning things we haven't really mentioned. Oh, Schmeichel in disguise. Well, it tells you what our standards have fallen to accept basic competence. Patrick says, morning, gents. I still await that comprehensive 4 or 5 or 7 goal performance in my lifetime. It's never happened, so it's not going to happen. I think United have scored 5 at Anfield very, very, way back in. I think we might have done it in the Busby era, maybe earlier than that as well. Most United victories at Anfield are usually full of grit and determination. Loved it. I do want to qualify something. I know, Paul referenced it earlier. I mentioned on socials that I think Cunha is our best player since Ferguson. And I don't know why people have taken that as me criticising Fernandes or even Mbeumo, because I think Mbeumo is top tier. He's in that conversation. I think he will be. I think top 5 right now. I've got no doubt of saying that. And there's no doubt, without question, Bruno is the best one since Fergie. I just think Cunha will he'll take that mantle because I think he's that good. I'm not saying Bruno's not good. I think he's brilliant, and I hope that he ends with major silverware at United. More major silverware. I'm talking like a league or European Cup, however fanciful it might seem right now. Bruno is incredible. I love him to bits, and even in spite of his drawbacks that I've seemed to mention more than I should do on this podcast, and Mbeumo has been brilliant. His first touch, his delivery, his temperament, everything about him is incredible. But it's something about Cunha that is just different. I don't know what it is, and he hasn't. I don't know if he's set up a goal yet. He might have set up 1 goal. He's definitely not scored. But it's not about that. It's when the eye test, when you're watching him, there's something different about the way that he moves with the ball.
Yeah, I think it's more about the fact with Cunha will get you off your seat.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When he gets on the ball in this space or he's one-on-one with somebody, he'll get you off your seat because you think something's going to happen. While he can't do that, Bruno can't do that because he's not that kind of player. He's not going to dribble around people and run. And Manchester United has been about players who dribble, go one-on-one with people, get themselves in an incredible position. And that's why Cunha stands as one of those players who the fans will take to. Once he gets a few goals behind him, they'll jump on the back of him a lot earlier than what they did before with Bruno, because Bruno was everyone because of the crap that United was in. He was the one who was digging them out.
Yeah,
and that's why he got to the platform he is.
Yeah,
it's very hard to get the ball off. Cunha is, and there's a bit of nastiness about him as well, which we haven't had in a player in a long, long time. And I don't mean nasty as in dirty. I just think he's not afraid to get stuck in. And looking at him yesterday, he made a few good runs yesterday where Liverpool just couldn't get the ball off him. And as Paul said, he hasn't scored, he hasn't an assist, or Wayne said he hasn't scored, but he's brought so much more to this team. He really has. You just don't know what's going to happen when he gets the ball. And he's one of those players that it's rare these days. It's hard to get the ball off. And again, he's a bit of a tough bugger as well. And I think that's what appeals to a lot of people.
Inspired decisions playing through the middle as well. I think sometimes you run the risk of losing a player if you put him in the number 9 because you're isolating him. But he was pretty much like a deep line 9, and he was just outstanding. I say everything that he was doing, moving with the ball, it was great. And like that nastiness, that edge to him. In the comments here, Twisted Fate saying, "Don't take me." But this is what I mean. Don't take this as me saying Cunha is messy, but the way the ball sticks to Cunha's feet is very much a messy style of dribbling. He's got this low center of gravity, and he's so physically strong. Almost
his strength is there.
Yeah. That as well.
Doesn't matter what you got. You could have the biggest muscles in the world, but if you're not strong there, those muscles are a waste of time. Simple as that. Because you're not gonna push yourself, or you haven't got any belief in yourself to be that strong. And Cunha's got that, by the way. He's fearless.
Yeah. I all of my unreasonable expectations of United doing much better than I expect them to do are based on how good Cunha is. More than the manager. I am being serious with this. This is how good I think he is. He's so good. He's potentially. I look at Ronaldo. I look at Rooney. I'm thinking of players this century who've. Let's go post Van Nistelrooy. Let's go post the moment when Ronaldo signed. It's that level of excitement that I get with him. He's so good, and I'm just a bit disappointed that we've got him. I mean, he's still young. He's 25, 26, but I still feel like, wow, if we'd got him at 22, 23, we might not have been battling for relegation for 2 years. Anyway, talk about Brighton. I didn't know this. Spotless Leopards here with a thing. Just come on and do our job, Spotless Leopard. So born the day after we won the treble as well. Very apt. Fantastic stuff. I love that. Right, okay. Brighton next week. Now, we can definitely say yesterday we have had tactical joy against a team that doesn't play the same system that we play. And we don't often see that. We don't often see United going to a team. We see it more in big games because of their responsibility to come out and attack us. Other teams aren't really like that. But Brighton have come to Old Trafford the past few years. I think was it 3 or 4 in a row that they've won. A couple of those they've absolutely played us off the park, like embarrassingly played us off the park, and in a way that we've sat on this podcast and talked like they've forced me to enthuse about how attractive it was to watch them batter us at Old Trafford, even if they've only won by 1 goal. They've been that good. I don't know. Every time we seem to play them at the start of the season at Old Trafford, and we're stuck wondering, are they in another run of transition? Is it something a little bit different? It's a little bit different every single year when they do something. One constant seems to be Danny Welbeck playing well for them and scoring. He did well for them at the weekend. They won against Newcastle. And it's difficult to know if this Brighton team is exactly the same kind of Brighton team that we've seen in the past. I feel like they've regressed a little bit. Famous last words, because I've said that before, and they've come to Old Trafford and done exactly the same kind of thing. I still have that gut feeling. I feel like for once, maybe we've got a little bit of a run on now, a little bit of confidence. But again, this is exactly the same kind of banana skin that we've had in the past. Have you seen anything of Brighton, Paul? What do you make of where they've been? What are you expecting to see at the weekend?
Well, they have been a little bit up and down, and they've got themselves in front of in quite a few games, but they seem to always give leads away quite easily, to be honest. They are still a really good footballing side, a brave side. The way they play, the margins, what they're playing from the back are really, really tight. Knowing that then they're playing to the fact of to get the maximum from it in possession and leaving, gaining from the big gaps through teams. And they'll still play that way. They're still a team of players that people don't know really well, but suddenly they get into this system they play in, and it's an attractive system. And these players become, look incredible, and they sell them for 100 million.
Yeah.
But they have come to Old Trafford. They have destroyed Manchester United on numerous occasions there. And this is it's a difficult game to call. You got to put that game to bed now, the one yesterday, because everything's there. There's so much involved with the heart and everything that goes with that game. That game doesn't compare to the game coming up next weekend, in my opinion. That performance yesterday is irrelevant to what happens the next game. The Brighton game is the bigger fixture now, because everyone is waiting for United to fall off the rails again after living off the back of one performance. And that's why it shouldn't be talked about, from today onward, shouldn't be talked about anymore. And Brighton have got a lot about them, to be perfectly honest. And it's one of those ones that if they beat Brighton, now then you can start talking about turning a corner, because that's the game, the kind of game that they would lose. And you mentioned it earlier, the six games that are coming up are the ones that you think yourself, you're looking at them, you're kind of going, maybe that's going to be tough, maybe a draw, maybe a defeat. Oh, they've had a good run in the last few seasons. That one's a defeat. Well, you look at it after that performance and you think yourself, right, okay, there's something here, but the only way that can happen if the manager tries to keep his side very similar in what they do week in, week out. Stop messing about with the team. Try and get continuity going for the sake of the goalkeeper. For him, get that going so he can understand the players around him.
Yeah. No, yeah. Dave, stat. Who was the scorer of the winning decisive goal the last time that United beat Brighton at Old Trafford?
I want to say Dennis Law.
But
I don't think I've gone back far enough.
Actually, our first game at Old Trafford against them, I'm just checking their numbers now on mufcinfo.com, by the way.
Was it a cup game?
No,
it was after me, wasn't it?
What do you mean after you?
After I'd done my time at United, United have beaten United.
Yeah, we have beaten them a few times. We beat them. Actually, you wouldn't believe this, but their first 1, 2, 3, 4. We beat them 5, 6 times in the league at Old Trafford. The first 6 seasons up, but they kept playing good football. I think that the first time would have been Mourinho, and I think Lewis Dunk scored an own goal, but they played really well. And I think that might. There's one game that was one of our first podcasts, Paul, and they played really well at Old Trafford, and we were like, "This is something to worry about," because they were playing really well. We've won a few games against them. Their wins at Old Trafford, by the way, their last 3 are their only wins at Old Trafford. They've never won at Old Trafford before. It just feels like Patrick's got it right in the comments here. But I'll tell you first, Ronaldo was the scorer of the winning goal the last time we played against him. Ronaldo scored. It was a really good goal as well. And then Bruno scored in the last minute when they were attacking. But yeah.
Oh, was that the famous 30 minutes of complete football? Was that game?
No. No, that was Ralph Rangnick. It was Ralph Rangnick, but we'd already had that. That was against Palace. And this was bad. We were back to bad football here. And Brighton probably deserved something from the game, but they were attacking late on, and Bruno scored. I think it was a breakaway goal, and he scored. That was the game. I think Rashford got a lot of criticism for his performance, and he was really, really. That was the first time he got a lot of criticism from Old Trafford, and I think it was a couple of weeks later he scored against West Ham. I think it was in the last minute. I can't remember that far back, everything like that. I do remember Ronaldo scoring and it being a good goal though last time. This is a test, right? Everyone's been saying it. Amorim's admitted it. The players are admitting it, Dave. Everyone knows that it's all right beating Liverpool, but you've got to go. It's a test to play well against Brighton as well as beat them. So, I mean, Paul and I were talking on last week's pod, and we were kind of saying, well, results now are becoming more important than performances. But we owe Brighton one. We can't get outplayed at Old Trafford again.
No, and this hasn't happened that often in his first year in charge, whereby we're coming into a home game on the back of a really good away win. So this will be a really good test to see if we are starting to turn that corner. Because Brighton, as we know, and I've been to a few of these games, they embarrassingly good at Old Trafford in recent years and completely played us off the park. But the plus for Amorim is this coming after the game at Anfield, no midweek game to distract us, no changes then in the midweek game, which he tends to do. So this for us will be a good time and a good test to see how far we really have come. And like I said, there's a few things there that fall into that, and the win at Anfield is it. I mean, if you ever are going to show that you are turning a corner, this game is so important. I mean, it really is. Like Maguire said, we won today, we'll enjoy the moment, but tomorrow, we start again. And I know a lot of times this can be cliche, but I kind of fully understand what he's saying there, is that there's absolutely no point in going out next weekend and getting hammered by Brighton, because then this game at Anfield is completely forgotten about. It becomes our cup final for the season to win at Anfield, and we don't want that to happen. I'm quietly confident going into this game because I am starting to see a bit of a formation, especially with the front three, and it's going to be difficult for him whether he brings Šeško back in or not, because I thought Mason Mount did really well yesterday, and he's been doing well since he's been in the team. There's a fluency between those three players that I like. That said, when Šeško did come on, he was really impressive. He really was. He just holds that ball up so well to bring players into it. So this is the big test. I mean, going to Anfield, you never know what you're going to get. We've seen some horrendous results down the years. We should have won there last year. So it's kind of, you got to put that in a different bracket. But this is the one, like Paul said, and I was mentioning earlier on, these next 6 games are going to tell me whether this manager has a chance. So I'm going to hold off on judgment on that until we're past these 6 games. But this is a big game. It really is. It's going to tell a lot about this team. Yeah, how much more confidence do you need going into a game at home against a team that's not really doing great this season? They've had some nice wins and they are a decent side. You know, Danny Welbeck, my God, how old is he now? And he still looks like he can run around for 90 minutes. So he's going to be dangerous, obviously. Baliba, if he wants a job next year, he needs to ease off on putting in a good performance at Old Trafford. But this is going to be a big game. Like I said, there's no better foundation going into a home game than beating the champions in their own ground, especially Liverpool. So I'm not exactly Ruben Amorim in. Let's see what happens.
Classic Dave. He's promising to withhold the judgment. He already delivered 50 times. I don't know where to begin. Maybe that's in Paul's book. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week when we'll learn whether or not Dave's still withholding his judgment or if he's going to tell us that he told us so all along. Have a great week, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.